What would you do if your husband disappeared for days to care for his hospitalized mother, only to have a strange woman show up at your door? Holding his bag? What if she told you something that shattered everything you believed about your marriage? I never imagined that one doorbell ring could change my life forever, but it did. Was my husband really just a caring son? Or was he hiding a secret behind those hospital visits? You'll find all the answers inside this story, but nothing is as simple as it seems. It was the middle of the night, and I remember his worried face, the hurried way he grabbed his coat, wallet, and keys. I offered to go with him, but he insisted I stay home and rest. He promised to call as soon as he knew anything, kissed my forehead, and rushed out. I stood by the window long after his car disappeared into the dark street, a strange heaviness sitting in my chest. The next day passed quietly. He sent short texts: "She's stable, docs are with her, I'll stay here tonight." I didn't want to be a burden, so I didn't ask many questions. I trusted him. After all, this was his mother. He needed to be there. But by the third day, something started to feel off. He wasn't just distant physically. His messages became even shorter. Emotionless. No calls. No voice notes. Just brief updates that sounded robotic. I convinced myself it was stress. That he was just tired. I tried not to overthink it. But something didn't feel right. Why did he suddenly stop sending those little heart emojis he always included, even when he was busy? Was it really just stress, or was there something he didn't want me to know? I kept the house going. Did laundry. Cooked. Made him meals in case he dropped by. But he didn't. By the fourth night, I sat curled up on the sofa with my phone beside me, waiting for a message. Instead, I got a knock on the door. At first, I thought maybe he'd come home to surprise me. But when I opened it, I saw someone else entirely, a woman I vaguely recognized. She looked familiar, but I couldn't place her. Her face was serious, and in her hands, she held something that made my stomach twist: my husband's duffel bag. She stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. My mind was racing. Why did she have his bag? Who was she? She sat down and began talking. Her words cut through me like ice. She said she had been involved with my husband for several months. That they started messaging during one of his trips. That it turned into late-night calls, long emotional talks, and eventually, more. She said it wasn't supposed to go that far, but it did. That she couldn't carry the guilt anymore, especially now that his mother was sick and he was living a double life. Could I believe a stranger's words over the man I trusted most? Or was this the moment everything I feared became real? She handed me the bag. Inside were clothes, a small bottle of his cologne, and a handwritten note signed with her name in hearts. My hands shook. I didn't cry. Not yet. I just sat there, numb, rereading the words she had written to him. When she left, I didn't know what to do. I waited. I sat still. And finally, when he came through the door a few hours later, I didn't speak. I simply handed him the bag. He looked inside. His face fell. He sat down, put his head in his hands, and confessed. Everything. There was no denial. No excuses. He said it was a mistake. That he had been emotionally lost. That he didn't mean to hurt me. But nothing he said made a difference. My world had already broken. He didn't fight me when I said I needed space. He packed a small bag, said he'd give me time, and left. Just like that. Why did he not even try to fight for me or our marriage? Could there be something even deeper that he was still hiding? That night, I cried for hours. Not for him. Not for the betrayal. But for myself. For the love I gave that he threw away. For the years of trust that meant nothing to him. I called my sister. She came over the next morning, and I finally let the pain out. She held me while I sobbed. I couldn't understand how he had turned into someone I didn't recognize. I looked at our old photos on the wall and wondered if he had ever truly loved me. Over the next week, I barely left the house. I kept replaying everything in my mind, every lie, every quiet moment, every time he stepped outside to take a work call. How many signs had I missed? How long had I been making excuses for him? I found myself questioning my own memory, wondering if I had been blind or just too trusting. Was this really the first betrayal? Or had he been hiding other truths all along, even before this woman showed up? Eventually, I forced myself to move. To clean. To reclaim my space. I stripped the bed. Washed everything. Donated the clothes he left behind. I started journaling. Talking to a therapist. I realized I had been living in denial for longer than I thought. That I had ignored my own intuition just to keep the peace. That I valued the image of my marriage more than the truth behind it. And slowly, I began to let go. I went out with friends again. I laughed, even though it felt strange at first. I started to rediscover the things that made me happy before I became someone's wife. Before I lost myself in being understanding and supportive. I painted a wall in the living room. Something bold. Just for me. What finally pushed me to make the one decision I thought I'd never make, and how did he react when I said the words he wasn't expecting? After a month of silence, he reached out. Asked if we could talk. Said he was going to therapy. That he wanted to try again. He said he missed me. That he missed our home. I listened. I let him speak. But I felt nothing. Not because I didn't care, but because I had finally found peace. The silence without him was better than the noise with him. I told him I wanted a divorce. Not out of revenge. Not out of anger. But because I was done. Done being someone's second thought. Done rebuilding bridges alone. He cried. He said he understood. And maybe, for once, he meant it. I signed the papers a few weeks later. And when I mailed them, I didn't cry. I smiled. What did I discover about myself in the quiet after the storm, and how did it lead me to something unexpected, something that felt like freedom? I moved into a small apartment with big windows. I bought myself new curtains, new sheets, a new coffee mug. I took long walks without my phone. I stopped checking social media. I let myself exist without needing to be anyone else's anything. And for the first time, I started feeling whole again. Not perfect. But present. One day, I got another knock on the door. My heart skipped for a moment. But it wasn't a stranger. It was a delivery, flowers from a friend. A note that read, "Proud of you." I put them in a vase and watched them bloom by the window. It felt like a symbol of everything I'd survived. I had lost someone I loved. But I found someone even more important, myself. And just when I thought the worst was behind me, something else happened that made me question everything all over again. But that's a story for another day, or rather, another video. If this one left you speechless, wait until you hear what happened next. Click on the next video showing right now, because trust me, the secrets only get deeper, and the twists only get wilder. I'll meet you there.